There are pros and cons to a lot of the black podcasters. There's a pro and a con to it. One of the cons, unfortunately, is that whenever there's the viral moment of a black man and a black woman getting into it, especially when it comes to celebrities, you have podcasters that go out and they spew a lot of gender divisive propaganda that is meant to exacerbate a lot of the tension going on in the black community. We're going to have to discuss this, and we're going to have to discuss the balance and nuance between accountability and pandering.
The price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Black first, my brothers and my sisters, welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I'm your host, Afro Elite. I appreciate y'all for watching. We got much to discuss this evening. Okay, we do. As y'all see, I got the glasses on. I saw Miss Nisi in the chat room, and I was like, I already know she ain't gonna play. Let me find my glasses, because I already know. If we know one thing, is we know she don't play about them glasses. We already know that. So that's why I had to get my glasses. So we have our glasses this evening, right? All right. Gonna discuss something. This is something that I've been thinking about, how to break it down, how to discuss it. And I need you guys to hit this like button, because we're gonna get in really deep. I want to discuss this subject because what we're working towards, what I'm working towards, what we're all working towards is something greater than what we've ever had. We want something. We talk about Black Wall Street, we talk about Rosewood, we talk about the things that we've had, but ultimately we want something for us and for our descendants greater than what we've ever had before. That's what I believe we all want. That's what the cause really is for a world to exist for our descendants that didn't exist for us, or that doesn't exist for us now. That is the reason we're here. And before we get into that, we have to understand that the most important thing, the very most important thing before even reparations, is a code. Because without a code, nothing is going to last. Nothing is going to work. Every society has to have a code of conduct. Dr. Claude Anderson has been talking about that. Neely Fuller's been talking about that. Everybody talks about that. All of our master teachers have discussed we need to have a code of conduct. All right. A community is made of its men, women, and its children. That's what a community is made out of. And we have to have a code of conduct among the men and the women who are supposed to be there raising and guiding and preparing the children of the next generation. The world has always worked that way. The world will always work that way. And that's what we need to be doing. Otherwise, anything we do won't last. And we won't be able to create this world that we are trying to make. We won't be able to do that. So we have to have the very mature adult conversation. All right. That's what I'm here for. Now, there's going to be issues between men and women. It's not a new thing. It's been happening for ever since probably like the dawn of time or something like that. Something like that, right? Or at least the dawn of the mankind here. We've always had men and women having disagreements and issues and things of that sort. Okay. And there is an on code way to handle that. It's an on code way to handle that, especially considering that foundational Black Americans are fighting this war against white supremacy to create a better world for our descendants. So we have to think about it that way. And what happens is that anytime, and especially with celebrities, anytime there is a feud between Black men and women, like a viral video or whatever the case is, or a celebrity or whatever the case is, you will have people come in from different angles. You'll have people come in and you'll have people be all create this gender divide or push a gender divisive propaganda within the community. And a community can't last with that. We need to establish a code. Now, we do have one, but it needs to be clearly established, the do's and the don'ts of it. Okay, every single code you've ever seen before has do's and don'ts. All right, there's a way we talk, and there's even a way we talk in public versus the way we talk in private. You understand? So I'm saying this to let you guys know how important this conversation is. All right, this conversation is very important. Every time we have an issue, you will have people come up, and we've already discussed the Myron Gaines, who will come up with a whole bunch of rhetoric, anti-black rhetoric. Even before he got into, he deep dived, because he was kind of really always in that type of bag. He was always on that type of page. Before he really got into that bag, he was always on some, well, women ain't this, black women, black women, black women. Okay. And he was always very one-sided and anti-black woman. Okay. Now we can call that out, but we also have, on the other hand, we have other people who have the podcast. This man is named Deontay, sorry, from the Eggs and Grits podcast. And he'll say some things that are opposite of what Myron says, but can also be very damaging as well too. So I'm going to say this. Okay. We're going to play this clip because this clip has gone super viral and a lot of people have given different think pieces about it, or whatever the case is. We're going to play this clip and we're going to see what people are talking about. We're going to break down the reaction, and then we're going to discuss the best way to move forward as a community. All right. So y'all know what I have to do. I think you guys do. If you guys have been here, y'all know what I have to do. Got to play the copyright disclaimer to establish to YouTube that everything we play, everything thus forth, will be protected under the guise of fair use. All right. As I'm doing that, what I would appreciate is if you guys hit that thumbs up button. Hit that thumbs up button. Please. Please and thank you. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I want to say this because I haven't spoken on this publicly at all. I've not spoken on the situation publicly at all. This is the main situation here. We're going to briefly talk about the situation with Diddy and Cassie. The trial is going on live right now. All right. The trial is going on. A lot of people giving a lot of different takes to it. A lot of people are either saying Diddy is innocent, he ain't do nothing, or Diddy's 100% guilty. He didn't do he's 100% guilty. He's guilty of everything they're saying. Or Diddy is innocent of everything they're saying. Cassie's guilty. Cassie's innocent. Cassie's a victim. Cassie's a participator. Okay, listen. This is where us as a society, us as an intelligent Black society, this is where we move forward with forethought and intelligence. We're all adults here. And I have learned the hard way, and this is something that I've learned and I want to teach you all. When it comes to certain situations like this, it's the smartest idea not to deem anybody guilty or innocent until the trial is fully over. Because what happens is in the age of the internet, people rush to either condemn somebody and say they're 100% guilty. They're guilty as sin. They absolutely did it. Did he absolutely did it? He's wrong. Everything they say, anything they say he did. That's what they rush to the internet and say just from jump. Don't really know much about it. They just say that from jump. On the other hand, you'll have some people being all like, oh no, this is a money grab. This is fake. He didn't do nothing wrong. They're lying on him from jump. You don't really know the situation either. You don't know if he's guilty or what he's done, what he hasn't done, or you don't know if he's innocent. But rushing to that conclusion, and they say it on the internet with such conviction. They say guilty with conviction, with proof. They say innocent with conviction, with proof. And they don't have it. it's important for us moving forward. If we're going to watch these things, we can have an opinion and not have an opinion, but if we're going to watch these things, wait till we get all of the things, because on day one of the trial, you might see something and you might feel some type of way, and then you get on the internet and say it, and then on day two, you might see something else, and then you feel a different type of way. But you already said it on the internet, so now you need to stick to it, or else it's going to seem like you're grifting, you're wishy-washy. All right. So before we know all the facts, it's not wise for us to make that decision. That's my take on it. All right. And I'm not here, even though we're going to be discussing celebrities, I'm not here to, when it comes to any of the celebrities we're going to be discussing, I'm not here to condemn any of them, nor am I here to acquit any of them. I'm not here to say, I'm not here to be the jury of anybody. I'm not here to be the jury of guilty or innocent. I'm here to discuss our response to the situation. Let's get into this video. Okay. And I want you guys to know, I've seen the thing, the whole thing. A lot of people have seen a clip or something from the internet. They've seen a clip either on TikTok, Twitter, or Instagram. I actually went to his YouTube page and I saw the video. It was like 1 hour and 46 minutes, I believe. All right. So I did cut, it was a one small part out about Trump or something like that, about Black history, that really didn't, I didn't feel it was germane. But I tried not to do it, no editing, so it's not taken out of context, but you can find it on YouTube. All right. But let's start off and hear what he had to say.
I'll speak to this perceived war on Black men, right? Like anytime, like, okay, Diddy and Tory, right?
Right.
Anytime stuff like that happen, it's like, oh, it's a war on Black men. You know, like when niggas pass, when they dirty deeds catch up to them, they'll say it's a war on Black men. But the part that confuses me is that this war is not being waged by Black women. But that's the way it's set up. The way that they would have it, have you perceive it, is that this war on Black men is waged by Black women.
And it's not.
It's not. So, and I say that to say something like academics, right?
Right.
He posted a picture of Megan next to Carol Bryant, and somehow wants to compare her. Compare Emmett Till to Tory Lanez is insanity.
Wow. That's wild.
First of all, when I see you,
yeah, for sure.
for sure,
For sure.
because that shit is so disrespectful.
Very disrespectful.
But the war on Black men has always been raised
Okay.
by the white society.
Let me pause that real quick. Okay. And you guys, I think y'all pretty much know my feelings on DJ Academics. We've said so on this channel. That is very disrespectful. Regardless of what you think, and this, like I said in this live stream, we're not necessarily here to condemn anybody. We're not here to say Tory was innocent, Tory was guilty, Megan is innocent, or Megan is lying, or Megan is telling the truth. This is not what this live stream is about. But to compare, because DJ Academics did do this, to compare Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez, or to compare Tory Lanez to Emmett Till, is very disrespectful. It is very disrespectful, especially considering the fact that a couple years ago, when people were actually looking for Carolyn Bryant, so DJ Academics didn't have anything to say. DJ Academics didn't have anything to say when folks was actually looking for Carolyn Bryant, but now he wants to bring up Carolyn Bryant because he's cool with Tory Lanez. But you guys already know my opinion on DJ Academics, so I will say that that is true. We're gonna continue. We're gonna continue because there's much to discuss, y'all. All right.
White women seeing our sexual prowess, but using it like Carol Bryant did, to be able to get us killed.
Yeah.
Mass incarceration, school to prison pipeline, black women don't have anything to do with that. They actually suffer under the same conditions. Now, here's the issue that I take with this war on black men and it being framed up like it's being raised by black women, is that black women are also dealing with the same conditions of being black, but also being women.
Right.
So, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
You getting ready to go out. Getting dressed, you and the homies, couple pre-games.
Right.
Get in the car, y'all finna hit the spot.
Okay.
Has it ever crossed your mind like, man, I hope these bitches don't ruin them night?
No.
Never.
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 Ever.
It's never crossed your mind that a woman could ruin your night. Ever. If anything, hopefully I can bag me a woman and advance the night.
Right.
Enhance the night.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Women, whether they're going to the grocery store, going to class, going to the club, the thought has to always be in the back of their mind that a nigga will ruin their night. By if they turn a nigga down, violence could ensue.
Right.
Physical violence or verbal assault. Right? Nigga, first thing a nigga gonna do, stupid, ugly bitch.
Yeah.
You ain't that fine anyway.
But you tried to holler.
But you tried to holler.
Yeah.
And it's this idea that we just, not even idea, just a stone cold fact, a lot of niggas can't take rejection.
That's a fact.
The privileges of being a more of attractive man, you get away with a little bit of my you know what I'm saying?
Let me pause it real quick. Because he says some more. And I don't necessarily want to repeat myself over and over and over again. I don't want to do that. But let me pause it real quick. In the system of white supremacy, black men and women are both attacked. There's a war on both black men and women. It's different. And this is why, if you don't understand the system of white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything you do understand will only confuse you. You're going to lead yourself into a rabbit hole, and it's going to get deeper, and it's going to be a maze. And everywhere you turn, you're going to find yourself back where you started again if you don't understand it. It's this infinite maze that you're never going to get out of if you don't understand not only what it is, because a lot of black people will acknowledge that it does exist, but they don't know how it works. If you don't know how it works, you're done. This is the thing. When it comes to a system of oppression, there's not ever been a system in the world of oppression where the oppressors thought it was a smarter idea to put extra oppression on the women than the men. They're saying, okay, we're going to oppress this group of people, but we're going to really oppress the women in the group. That if you were an oppressor, just doing it that way wouldn't last. You wouldn't be able to last. Your reign wouldn't be able to last over that group of people. That wouldn't even make sense. Now he brings this situation up. I will say women do have to be more careful than men. That is a fact. Women do have to be more careful than men. I don't think that anybody's going to sit up here and deny that women have to be more careful. Women have to be more cautious when they leave the house than men, because females and males, we are different. Okay. So now, as true as that is, I'm going to let him continue to say something, and then I'm going to give a retort, because I don't necessarily want to say something and then pause and then say that same thing again and then pause. You know what I'm saying? So let him continue, and we're going to do that. Okay. And this is something I've said on YouTube before. Yeah, women need to be careful. First off, you as a black person, you as a FBA person, you need to be careful anyway. We can walk into a grocery store and then deal with a Peyton Gendron. We can walk into a damn dollar store and no, Peyton Gendron was the dollar store. I think it was Ryan Palmeter. He was at the dollar store. You can go into a church and deal with a Dylan Roof. So there's as you as a black person, there's danger everywhere you go. You can't escape that. So we need to constantly be keeping our head on a swivel. Okay. And women also need to be keeping their head on the swivel as well. I don't think any sensible person is going to deny that fact. Okay. And there's a way to say that women need to keep their head on the swivel without going overboard. But let him continue.
Or-
You know what I'm saying? I have heard many of conversations where it's like, if you wasn't so fucking cute, nigga, it should be over.
yeah.
I'm dump niggas for less.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? There is advances and privileges that come along, but there's also privileges that come with being a man.
Facts.
And we have to acknowledge the privileges that we have as a man, that we don't have to worry about like sexual harassment, unfortunately rape. Like those aren't things we think about. Women go to the club, you ain't nobody trying to roofie you, nigga.
Yeah.
And take advantage of you. If you go in a club right now and it was me and you, let's say me and you, we go to the club, we walk in a bitch, nothing but women.
Right.
We're gonna be like, shit.
Let's do it.
Hey,
Let's do it.
hey.
It's a good night.
First of all, is this for the public?
Yeah. How we get here?
How do we get this lucky?
Yeah.
It's nothing but women here? If a woman if a woman and her homegirl walk in the club is nothing but men, that's a dangerous situation for them to be in. I'm almost tired of like this idea that we have where it's like white people saying there's a war on white people, or white people are being victimized, or white people need to unite. It's like the black men kind of get into the same bags as white women sometimes, where we don't want to take accountability for our actions or the actions of our brothers. You know what I'm saying? You may not harass women. You may know how to take rejection. The majority of men that most women deal with do not.
Yeah.
And you are accountable for that as well.
Okay. All right. And we're going to discuss this. I'm going to play it back a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play it back a little bit, and then the whole we got to take accountability. Then I'm going to, let that play. All right. Here's what kind of struck me. When you do a thing where you start comparing black men to white women in a system of white supremacy, because we don't live in a system of black men supremacy. We don't live in a system of black supremacy. We don't. We live in a system of white supremacy. White women participate in that system. It is a system that protects them, that benefits them, that pedestalizes them, okay, and allows them to, with impunity, victimize black men and black women. Okay, this system does not exist for black men, where black men with impunity get to victimize anybody, where black men have a system that reinforces them when they're wrong, where black men have a system that pedestalizes and protects them. So we're not on the same thing. The whole thing of, a black man is a man and a white woman is a woman, but she's white, so we're still in the same thing. That's not nearly the same thing whatsoever. That's not nearly the same thing. And when you start making these comparisons, I'm seeing it like, okay, that's being really disingenuous there. That's being disingenuous, because you can't make that comparison. There's never going to be a black version of Carolyn Bryant. You can't have that. That wouldn't exist. All right. So you can't talk about, there's a system of white supremacy, but white women and black men, we get in the same bag. And with that, you're missing a lot of the important retorts that you need to be listening to have an adult and civilized discourse and conversation. But I'm going to play it back a little bit, and then I'm going to let him do the whole thing about rejection, because we're going to talk about that as well, too.
Don't want to take accountability for our actions or the actions of our brothers. You know what I'm saying? You may not harass women. You may know how to take rejection. The majority of men that most women deal with do not. Yeah. And you are accountable for that as well.
Okay. All right. And let me say this. And this is a sensitive issue. And I want to say this with as much fairness as possible. There are a lot of men, or there are too many men who don't know how to take rejection, who will turn violent. There's been cases where women have lost their lives off of nothing but denying a man a phone number. All right. There are men like that. There's not a single man in this chat room, I believe, would tell me anything other than that. That there are men who are not, even if they don't become violent, they become very aggressive, or they start insisting, and they insist so much it becomes uncomfortable for the woman, and she gives in, or whatever the case is. There's multiple times when women will talk to you and they'll say, okay, a guy asked me for my number and I gave him a fake number, or I took his number and then I blocked him when I got home, because she was never interested in talking to him, but she understood that to keep the peace, she should give him a number. And then what some dudes will do, they'll sit up there, they get the number, they'll call right in front of her. They don't even give her the chance to give them a fake number or nothing like that. I don't think that it's good for any of us, because we're not team man. I'm not a team man. I'm not a team woman. I'm team black. All right. So in order for us to do that, we have to tell the truth. How many women in the chat room, can I get a hand up? Can I get a hand up for every time you all had to do that? For every time a guy has asked you for your number and you thought, oh, let me, to keep the peace so there won't be an incident, let me give him a fake number, or let me give him my number and then let me block the number because I'm not interested in him. How many of you all have had to do that? All right. It happens. And as men, we can acknowledge that it happens because we want things to be better. We want things to, a world to be better. Okay. Now we got women in the chat room testifying to that. Okay. Admitting to that. They're bearing witness to exactly what I'm saying. So we're not going to sit up here and act like that doesn't exist and that never happens whatsoever. So we got to look at this thing from a balanced point of view. That happens. Now, to look at it from a very balanced point of view, to say most men don't know how to take rejection, I think is a little bit of a reach. Not even, I think is a little bit of a reach, but it is it's a big reach. It's borderline really false, to be very honest with you. If we have any idea how often men get rejected, because a lot of you all have given your number out, and then there's a lot of you all who a man has tried to make a move, even if he didn't get to the point where he asked you for your number. If he's tried to spark a conversation and you kind of gave him the cold shoulder a little bit and he walked away, that's a form of rejection. If a guy tries to make conversation with you and you're like, okay, and you're very short with your words or responses or whatever the case is, that's a form of rejection. Men, and we're talking about grown men. We're not talking about high school. We're not talking about 15-year-olds or whatever the case is. Men get rejected all of the time. So for you to be to say that most men can't handle rejection, and it insinuating that most men flip out the second the second he tries to approach a woman, and she denies him, and most men respond that way, is very untrue. And I'm sure most women will say, yeah, that's not the case when it comes to most of the time. Even the women who will be able to say that there are times where a situation has been uncomfortable, she can probably, and I'm not speaking for women, but off of the ones I've heard, she can say that most of the time a man has tried to talk to me or whatever the case is. And women know, women ain't dumb. Women know if a man is trying to talk to you or whatever the case is, he's trying to advance the conversation. He's interested in you and he's probably trying to get your number. Women know that. And women will do a thing of, well, if I keep it short, he might walk away. And a lot of times that happens. That's a form of rejection. Men get rejected every single day, all the time. Not every man gets rejected every day, all the time, but in a collective, men get rejected all the time. And men have to learn, hey, you just gonna have to keep it pushing. Even men tell other men, hey, just don't be bitter about it, man. You just gonna have to, there's gonna be a dozen no's before you get one yes. Men tell other men this all the time. So the fact that you're out here pushing this thing and you're embellishing on the minority of men who who act out of character when they get rejected, and you're trying to say all men should be held accountable for that. This is why people are giving you so much pushback for this. This is why people are saying, okay, well, that's panderous then. Okay, because now you're trying to put this blanket label on something that most men don't do and most men don't approve of. We don't approve of no dude sitting up there cursing a girl out because she didn't give the phone number or social media or whatever the case is. Most dudes, especially older men and grown men, will be all like, okay, well, she wasn't interested for whatever reason. She wasn't interested. That's fine. She has that right. You don't take it personal. Just keep pushing. There's more girls out there, more women you can talk to. But when you try to put this label on, I want you to keep this in mind. Even though he's saying men, he's really, really saying black men. This conversation is around blackness. Okay, so he's referring to black men. And what a lot of black men don't like about when stuff like this happens is because when you do this, it's not even what they would call panderous. It can become dangerous. It can become dangerous because you're perpetuating a label of monstrous behavior among black men and oppressive and tyrant behavior among black men. This negative stereotype that black men are out here abusing people and black men are like inherently evil and lack any type of emotional control at all, that can be very dangerous. And that type of behavior and that type of narrative can lead to the justification of black men being harmed and black men being subjugated and even killed. You can even look at the situation with what's the brother's name? Mike Brown. And the whole narrative of, oh, y'all know big black men is pretty scary and pretty dangerous and stuff like that. So when you say things like this, and I'm saying this as respectful as possible, but when you say things like this, that type of language can lead to a very dangerous environment for black men, especially the black men who don't participate in that action whatsoever. So you have to be very mature and balanced when it comes to these types of conversations, because to say that there are men out there who can't take rejection is not wrong. I'm not denying that. There's women in the chat room who've confessed that. But if you're going to say, yeah, well, most y'all can't, most men can't take rejection. What do you deem as most? Most men can't take rejection. Okay. And then you're saying that, okay, and that creates this fear. And you're saying that there's this looming threat that any black man, you can't tell, every single black man is a rejection away from snapping and going crazy, is not true. And is a dangerous narrative to go out there and say. And it's a narrative not just to say on black men, but it's also a very divisive narrative to say, because that doesn't invite people into a conversation that's not biased. See, the thing is with podcasts that speak about relationships, what they miss, which is why they don't really help anything. Okay. What they miss is they miss the unbiased, mature wisdom it would take to host these conversations. They miss that. They lack that. All right. So either they're more on this side, they're more on the side of the female, or they're more on the side of the male. And without that, and if you're leaning on the side of the female, then okay, well, first off, you're not going to solve the problem, and the men are not going to listen to you. If you lean on the side of the male, then you're not going to solve the problem, and the women are not going to listen to you. That's why the fresh and fits and the red pills, or whatever they call themselves nowadays, MGTOWs, whatever they call themselves, they don't fix anything. And neither do the people pandering. They don't fix anything either. So we have two groups of people, two subgroups of people who are claiming they want the betterment of the community and they want everything to be great, and none of them are solving anything. This is what we have. Let's continue, because he does continue to say more.
Because I don't got time to figure out which white people are nice, which white people aren't racist, or da-da-da-da-da. I have to go on the actions of the group.
Right.
The group as a whole and the history of that group as a whole tells me that they are a danger to me and they are not to be trusted.
Right.
And if you can understand that as a black man and your stance towards white people, then you should absolutely be able to understand women's stance towards you.
Okay, no, that's not. No, you cannot compare. That is a bad equivalency. That's a bad fault. It's a false equivalency to compare the system of white supremacy. And when we say things like we can't tell who's racist and who's not racist, let's look at this from the most mature point of view. There's a lot of women who don't like men who be all like, well, not all men are like that. I'm not like that. Okay, well, yeah, not all men are like that. Not all white people are like that. Not all cops are like that. But there are a lot of them who are like that go unpunished and that go unregulated. Okay, that part, that there are women who have that concern, right? The thing is that we don't live in the system of men, black men, being superior and having impunity to do what white women have impunity to do. All right. So when they say not all, when we say not all, you have to look at that from a different historical context, because I know it on surface level, because we're intelligent here and we're going to get down. We're going to deep down deeper. We're intelligent. Let me pause this for a second. We're intelligent people here. We're going to deep down a little bit deeper than just the surface level. When a black man says, okay, well, we can acknowledge black men do this, but not all black men do this. And if somebody says, okay, well, that's the same of saying, well, not all cops or not all white people do this. On the surface level, it sounds like the equivalent. On a deeper level, when you add the historical context necessary to have that conversation, what you understand is that there is a system that backs up, that condones, that allows them to get away with doing what they want to, that sweeps that under the rug, that panders to them, that honestly rewards them in a lot of cases, that doesn't do that with us. Not only is there a system, there's a very different history. Black men and black women, and I'm not going to say that every single black man is great and is going to heaven or whatever you call the situation. We're not going to say that. But the thing is to say that we have the same or even a similar history to black women that white people have to black people is completely false. And it is also a dangerous statement. Okay. It belittles the significance of what white supremacy has been doing to black people as a community. And what you're doing is you're embellishing a lot of the negative, and I'm not going to say that there's none, but the negative black men that do exist in the community. You can't possibly make that connection, because black men and black women's history is not the same. We don't have a history of stripping black women of humanity, saying that they're 3/5 of a human being. We don't have a history of open lynchings and buck breakings and stuff like that that's just gone on unpunished, and dropping bombs on their neighborhoods and doing all of this. I mean, just the monstrous things that they have to us and that they still do to us. So you can't compare the two things, because the system is different. First off, we don't have one, they do have one. And then the history is night and day different. The history is night and day different. Now, if we want to have a conversation about what men can do to address other men, then that can be a conversation and that is a conversation worth having. But when you have that conversation in the context of niggas is bad, then first off, you way missing a ball, and you're doing more harm than good. You're not solving nothing. Now, let's continue.
It's not a war on you waged by women. Actually, the war get a little thicker when we start talking about it from the perspective of a woman and the greater society of racism and white supremacy being waged against black people. And then the patriarchal society being waged against women. So they have to deal with two elements. One of those elements we don't have to think about. And honestly, we're perpetuated. And it's perpetuated against us young to look at women as objects.
Right.
You know, to look at women only through the lens of a sexual desire and not as the human being that they are.
Okay. That's not true. At least I can say that for most black men. And what's interesting is that we have this thing of the inconsistency of black men are taught to look at black women as objects and stuff like that. Yet when it comes to our history and I'm talking about foundational black American, when it comes to foundational black American history, when you look at our relationship, men and women, we don't have the relation. We have a much more unified relationship than anybody else. We have a much more unified relationship. Now, what he's talking about with the whole we're taught and bred and all that stuff to look at women as nothing more than just sex objects and all that stuff. That's not what is taught in a foundational black American household. Even the ones who are raised by their single mothers or whatever the case is, even the black people who are players, the black dudes who be, they at this chick house one day, that they at this chick house the other day, they going around and they sleeping around and they soiling they wild oats, so to speak. They're not taught to, like, yeah, my dad said from the age of 7 that women ain't nothing but sex slaves. And then, okay. And to say that we perpetuate that, okay, that's an untrue statement. That's a very untrue statement. It's a dangerous statement to make. That we've been taught that. I don't know where is an example of us being taught that. Okay, and I'm gonna say this myself, we are the most unified people there is. There's no other group of people who've been more unified, men and women. There's been issues, bumps in the road, of course. But as far as unity is concerned, there's nobody else more unified. And these statements that he's casting these statements not on a few. He's casting these statements on the entirety. That's the issue. On the whole group, he's casting this statement on.
And when you understand how to deal with women on a human level, you understand how much women will enrich your life.
Amen. Amen.
You want to turn it up a notch?
Yeah.
Get you a good woman get you a good black woman in your corner.
Amen.
Hey man, you want to see your life turn up?
Hey.
And see, this is the thing though. It's a privilege, bro. It's a privilege. You know what I'm saying? We often disregard the power of our black women, the spiritual essence that they're gonna bring to things, the knowing, the seeing. You know what I'm saying? Also, too, imagine it. They have to be hyper vigilant because they have to be constantly scanning the room, making sure that they're in a safe situation.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? When we think about these kids who were clearly in Louisiana having the time of their fucking life because they graduated, and we think about white people's reaction to Black joy.
Oh yeah, that's
it's not about civility. It's not about decorum. They don't like to see us happy.
That's what it is.
Now, how often are women just having a good time, and here come a nigga trying to ruin their fun?
Yeah.
There he is again with this comparing black men to white people. The video he's referring to is a group of, I think, high schoolers in Louisiana, and this was after the high school ceremony. They, were dancing in a big crowd of other graduates and stuff like that. You had a whole bunch of white supremacists all like, oh, black people are so uncivilized and lack decorum and dignity and all of this stuff. And you had a whole bunch of people saying that because they don't genuinely like black joy. They don't like when black people are having fun. They don't like when black people are happy. Where are you getting that with black men? oh, there's always a bunch of black women happy, and then there's this black man who's looking at black women happy like, I can't stand when a black woman is happy. Let me go over there and ruin the night. That don't happen. Not in our community, it don't. We don't have this thing. We don't have this thing where when we see a black, and I'm talking about foundational Black American, let me just be clear. We don't have a thing where we see a black women enjoying themselves or having fun or whatever the case is, and we just think, I want to ruin that for them. I hate it when they enjoy themselves. I hate it when they're having fun. That's not our thought process with anything. That's not how we think. That's not how we move. He's making, first off, the fact that he's making a false equivalent by saying that black people participate in the same oppressive systems as white people is very false and dangerous to say. And then these extreme comparisons he's making is why people are saying this is pandering, because this isn't even helping women what he's doing. He's going to finish it off here. He's going to finish it off, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about it.
Let's just be honest. Mm-hmm. You can call it pandering, but if I was up here caping for white women, you wouldn't even mention that word. Mm-mm. If I was up here caping for Hispanic women, you wouldn't even call it pandering. Only when we talk about this, only when we take pride and show love to black women, do you call it pandering. Get your motherfucking mind right. Use your cabeza.
Okay. All right. That's what he said. That's what he had to say about the situation. That's what he had to say. Here's the thing. Is it pandering? Is everything he's saying wrong? Is there a war on black men? Yes, there is. Is there a war waged by black women? No. Okay. The war is not waged. They're alongside us. The war is on them too. The war is on both of us. We're not, when I said earlier in the live stream, a community is made of the men, women, and children. They're not going to separate a community and wage war on one group of people, one gender of people in the community. Where have oppression ever done that? Oppressors ever done that? That doesn't make sense. That wouldn't work, and it wouldn't make sense. And it ultimately is not even feasible to do. So yes, there is a war, but the war is not waged by black women. The war is not waged by black men. All right, it's not. But when you have these conversations and you're clearly not being objective. You're clearly not being objective. You're not even attempting to be objective, because it can be difficult to be objective. It can be. You can have your own opinion about it, your own stance on it, and whatever the case is, and that might skew your judgment, or the people you discuss the situation with might skew your judgment. That can happen, and it can be very difficult for people to be objective with this situation. It can be. From your upbringing, your values, your thoughts, the information that you may or may not have, it can be. But the thing is that you should at the very least, try to be as objective as possible, because that's going to bring forth the best result going forward. That's why we say that. But when we see people who are not even making the attempt to be objective like that, he's not even making the attempt. And he's making very dangerous comparisons, comparing us to white women. That's very dangerous. It's not true, which is why a lot of people saying it's pandering. Let me show you the response on just Twitter, because he put it on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. But I'm just going to show you the Twitter one. We're just going to look at some of the comments on Twitter. Excuse me. Okay. And then we got a couple more things we got to discuss. Now, this is a shorter version of the men got to hold other men accountable. Okay. Men have to hold other men accountable for the bad men who can't take rejection. So a lot of people on here are saying that this is pandering. It says, why are you so dangerous? It says, I'm here for the comments. Dude getting cooked. It says, aren't black women tired of being lied and pandered to by these podcasters? It's got to be exhausting. I mean, it is. Then somebody saying it's pandering. Okay. Now, this person right here says this topic of discussion is too nuanced for Twitter. Everyone is reactionary without actually understanding the validity of the points being made. It is a nuanced conversation, and this is why we're having this on YouTube. But I played the thing, not just the viral clip, but I played a lot before. Building up to that. All right. So it is nuanced, but he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing with it. Okay. Now we're looking at some of the comments, all of these people calling him pathetic, all of this stuff. It says every decade, some pandering moron tries to make this false equivalence. Yeah, a lot of people in the comments, it says, I can't agree with this logic. This is exactly why stereotypes, bias, racism, etc. exist, because people find it okay to group everyone in categories based off of singular experiences. All right. It says, how about we stop placing the actions of individuals on groups and hold those individuals accountable? Now, even if you want to say that if we as men need to do a better job, which is not even what he's saying. He's not saying men need to do a better job of holding men accountable. He's making the argument that men don't hold men accountable for anything at all. That's the argument he's making. So it's a contrast to it. It's a lot of people saying, yeah, these are pushing. Okay. We love to have you. Okay. This is some dude trying to get a thing. Okay. Now, okay. Now, this is another thing. He has interviews. We're not going to play that much. The only man I can keep. Yeah. So then you have some women. The only man that can keep his podcast. Now on TikTok, a whole bunch of people are agreeing. On TikTok. I want to play this other video, and then I really want to break it. Like, really want to do a real good deep dive. But a lot of people on Twitter dragging him. He's being drugged on Twitter from what I did, like drug completely. But look at this. Let me pull up this other clip, y'all. Let me pull this other clip up. Now, right now, we're going through a situation with it, and it's interesting because we're going through the situation with Diddy. We're going through the situation with Diddy and Cassie. They're having their back and forth or whatever the case is in court. A lot of people giving their 2 cents on that. The situation with Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion just got re-brought up because Tory Lanez had been stabbed 14 times. A lot of people saying that there's new evidence. Some people saying that they always believed he was innocent from the beginning and that Megan was lying. Some people are saying that he's been lying the whole time. He's guilty. They proved that he was guilty, and you guys are bringing that up again. And then you have another case, the case of DDG and Halle Bailey. Okay, Haley Bailey. All right. So they're bringing this stuff up because DDG and Haley Bailey, they're going through a pretty nasty, custody battle. They're going through it. So a lot of people are having this conversation. And like I said in the very beginning of the live stream, when we have situations like this, what is best for us to do if we want to move the community forward the way we really want to, if we want to move the community forward, we need to take a step back and say, you know what, let me hear both sides, or at least let me get all of the information pertaining to this specific incident. But no, what we do is some people are reactionary. Some people are like, well, especially when it comes to celebrities, okay? And I'm warning a lot of us not to get into this. When it comes to celebrities, it's whoever they like the most, and they get into that. Okay? Whoever they like the most, and they get into that. they give into whatever side they like the most, right? We shouldn't do that. We should wait till we have all of the case. What is the defense saying? What is the prosecution saying? What is all of that? And then we can make a non-biased, objective judgment. Because moving forward as a community, as a society, we're going to have to do that between men and women regardless. We don't want them to do it. We want us to do it. And we need to get in the practice of doing that. That's what being on code is for us to do that as having a code of conduct amongst each other. And we need to practice the code of conduct amongst each other, which is why I'm doing this whole live stream. I'm doing this live stream to call out the people who will use this as an opportunity, whether get clicks or views or whatever the case is, or to push propaganda that is divisive between the community. I'm going to bring up this other person, and we've discussed him before, but let me bring it, this other person. We're going to bring up Consciously, right? So we're going to bring him up, and he's going to discuss the women that we've just that are going through the trials and all of their tribulations and things like that, right?
Real women, everybody was talking about protecting in the face of trans women because they trying to steal their identity and steal their womanhood, is now actively supporting an abuser in the face of putting their hands on women.
Okay. Out the gate, this man starts out the very gate, this man starts caping for trans women. Now, none of the people you see here are trans whatsoever. But out the gate, this man started, y'all talk about y'all don't like trans. Dude, this ain't got nothing to do with trans. And Consciously is consistently always trying to back up the narrative that trans women are just as much women as biological women. He's constantly doing that. And out the very gate, he started doing that. Okay, let's continue to what he has to listen to what he has to say.
Supporting an abuser in the face of putting their hands on women. Now, when we start talking about trans women and doing combat sports and shit like that, hey, that's a man in a dress that ain't got no business putting their hands on a woman or being in the same space and place to be able to go one-on-one with a woman. We watch Cassie get drugged, kicking and screaming in a hallway. This man being charged with trafficking, y'all saying he didn't do it. Y'all let, you feel me, a hearsay bullshit ass security guard come in after the fact to be like, yeah, I heard on a phone call that Kelsey said she did it. Why he ain't say that during the trial? Then this one right here got receipts for what happened to her, and y'all still justifying her being abused and saying it didn't happen. Now, the same folks that want to protect women and say, hey, anytime we start hearing that gay shit, that drag shit, that trans shit, we got to protect real women. A lot of y'all
notice that he's using this as a way to advocate for trans. Just notice that he's using this as a way to advocate. He's not even mainly talking about black women. He's using this to quote unquote call out some type of hypocrisy he feels like exists within the community about us not accepting or not being welcoming to trans people. Because this ain't even the first time he brought it up.
Dudes that do it too. You could just be real and be like, man, I don't really give a damn about women, but I think only men that identify as men have the right to beat on women and not trans women. You feel me? Start.
Why is he this man? I mean, when it comes to trans, again, only men who can identify as men only. Dude, what are we doing? What are we even discussing at this point? Is your point about women not being listened to? Is your point about that? Or is your point about calling out what you believe is some type of hypocrisy of our non-acceptance to trans people? Is that what the problem is? Okay, because I mean, brother, if you want to say something, it's all right. You can say it. You can say what you want to say, brother. I mean, it's 2025, I suppose. Okay. All right, dude. All right. And then I find something very interesting. When I look and I'm, just doing a little bit more research, and I wound up like, you know what? He sounds kind of similar. And then you do a little bit more digging. And I'm all like, oh, okay. I see now. Things are starting to make a little bit more sense. I can see it now. No wonder these two seem to have the same type of rhetoric and narratives and things like that they keep pushing. Of course, they're very close. They're closely associated with each other. And these are the people who get on here and they'll quote unquote advocate for black people, but they'll also call out how we are homophobic or transphobic or whatever the case may be. And we're all this. And yeah, that's what. Okay. Okay. Notice this. And I just want you to understand the people who claim to advocate for the community, it matters who you listen to. It matters who the people who claim to advocate for the community listen to. Now, when we talk about the situation, like I said early in the live stream with Diddy, I'm not trying to deem Diddy innocent. I'm not trying to deem Diddy innocent, but I'm not trying to deem Diddy guilty. I have an opinion on the trial so far, but I'm going to keep that to myself until I know everything because I don't want to be wrong. Okay. The situation with Tory and Meg, I'm not trying to say Tory is innocent. I'm not trying to say Tory is guilty. There's a lot of information that we don't know. Okay. A lot of stories on both sides, I will say, and I've said this on the live stream before, on both sides don't really make that much sense. I'm going to be very honest. I've said this, and I guess the trial is over now. I'm going to say this, on both sides, it seems like information, big pieces of the puzzle is being withheld because none of the stories really add up. At least from the beginning, it didn't. The situation with Holly and DDG, we don't know all of the facts yet. They're dropping receipt bombs on each other is all over Twitter and Instagram right now. So we don't know everything that happened. We don't know everything that happened. And it's good for us not to make this damn condemnation. We're not going to condemn people before we do. And let me tell you guys why that's dangerous. Do you all remember this woman? Do you remember this woman a few years ago? She was at a nightclub and she claimed that she rejected a man and he got upset and he picked up a brick and hit her in the face with the brick. And black men just stood there and not did anything. She made a video at the nightclub with her face swollen, made a video at the hospital with her face swollen. And Lord have mercy, there was thousands of people, I would say hundreds of thousands of people making discourse. It was conversations about black men don't protect black women. And then Conscious Lee, come on, let's bring them back up. Conscious Lee was one of the main folks out here talking about how black men need to protect black women and black women is unprotected or whatever the case is. And anybody who, because her story didn't really add up from the beginning, anybody who said anything other than that was just hating on black women. That's what he said. And I was all like, okay, well, if she got hit, that's terrible, but let's not condemn the entire community. And notice, every time we say, okay, well, let's deal with an individual case as an individual case. Let's not deal with this case as this is a conversation and an umbrella that all black men fall under. Just notice that. Who do you think would set it up that way? Who do you think benefits from that? Because what we were saying is that, okay, well, we can't be out here condemning or approving everybody, right? We can't be out here doing that. Let's look at everything. Her story doesn't really make that much sense. And it was this instant, oh, y'all doing that because y'all hate black women and stuff like that. And it was this thing about this narrative, this very divisive narrative that black men and black women are at fuse or at war with each other, is what they were saying. And then turns out, we found out that she lied. We found out that she made it up. We found out that it wasn't real. And then nothing. There were people who were making hours worth of content talking about how black men as a collective should do this walk of shame. And any black man who even questions the legitimacy of her getting hit in the head with a brick hates their mother and hates black women. And then when they found out it wasn't true, like, oh, well, my bad. Let me tell you something. That's dangerous to black men. It's also dangerous to black women, because that puts doubt, because there are black women who do get attacked. Okay. Now, what she did, that brick lady, that was some tether nonsense. But in real cases, the black women who do get attacked, there is what she did, and why it's so dangerous is because she created an environment with her lies. Now there is suspicion anytime a woman does claim that. Okay, you claiming that, now you got to go fund me. Now there's a era of suspicion, or there's more suspicion in among society. Okay, I'm gonna give you another case. The case of Jussie Smollett. You guys remember Jussie Smollett said that he was in the middle of the night in probably the coldest weather he's ever experienced in his entire life. The coldest weather he's probably Chicago's had since he's been alive. He decided to get out in the middle of the night and walk to Subway so he can get a sandwich because he was hungry. He said he got jumped by two MAGA men who said, "Aren't you that gay black guy?" I'm subbing the words. "Aren't you that gay black guy from the hit TV show Empire that comes on new episodes on Wednesday from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock? Aren't you that gay black guy?" He was like, "Yes, I am that gay black guy. Leave me alone." And they said no. And they slightly beat him up. They poured bleach on him. They tore his shirt a little bit, not too much because it was cold outside. They tore his shirt a little bit. And they wrapped a noose loosely around his neck like a necklace. And they said, "Remember that. Hell MAGA." And they walked away. And he went up there and he cried to the public. He was all like, "Guys, they beat me. Guys, oh my God. Guys, this." And a lot of us was like, I don't know. You say, where were you? You say that. There's something about that story is really not making that much sense. Remember, they was all like, "Oh, y'all just hate gay men. Y'all just homophobic. And the only reason y'all thinking he lying is because he's gay. That's the only reason. And if he was straight, you guys wouldn't say that. You guys think it's okay to attack a gay man." They were all like that. Remember? They were all like that. And then they were all like, "Oh, you're just doing that because you hate gay black men, and gay black men are just not welcome in the community." And then, oh, he lied? Oh, well, I mean, never mind. Dude, yeah. This has happened. I think this case right here shows us it's important for us to know the start, middle, and finish before we jump to anybody's defense or jump to condemn anybody. Because folks will lie. Okay? Even celebrities. And this man was at the peak of his career doing this crazy ass hoax for reasons we don't even confirm to this day, because I think he still to this day is trying to make the case that it really did happen to him. Okay. Trying to make that case to this very day. He's still not admitting the fact that he made it up. And what's dangerous about what he did, what's the most condemning about what he did, is because there are black people who really do face hate crimes. There are black people who really are victims of hate crimes. And when you going out with your status, faking one, you give justification for us to be denied when we try to seek justice. It's making us harder for us to say we do need justice because we are victims of hate crimes. Remember the damage that did to the community after that. The damage that did to the community is, oh, y'all just like Justice Smollett. Oh, there's no real racism. Y'all just be making that up. Oh, that's what all of that hate crime stuff, that's just made up. That's just what Justice Smollett said. It's just all made up. That's what they did. That's how dangerous what you do is. And even with the situation with Brick Lady, right? When you lie and make up a story, whether it's for money, whether it's for clout, whether it's to get back at somebody, whatever the case may be, when you do that and folks find out that you are lying, it creates an era of suspicion around everybody else who makes a similar claim to you. So when you claim that I got attacked because I'm a black woman and find out you're lying, now that creates doubt when other black women who really do get attacked, when they come, when they make their claim, is going to be, oh yeah, now everybody getting attacked too. Do you guys remember? It was like a couple years ago. I think it was, yeah, it was about a couple years ago, maybe it was a year or so. Do you remember that one woman who allegedly went missing on the side of the freeway? And it was this big story, a huge story. And everybody was talking about how often black women go missing, which is very true. It's very true. And then she came back talking about, yeah, they let me go with some crackers or something. They were feeding me. Remember that? Do you guys remember that? She came back a couple days later, didn't have a scratch on her or whatever the case is. She was hydrated, didn't have no injury. Oh yeah, I came back. I escaped, y'all. Escaped. I wiggled out the handcuffs and I ran away. And she tried to lie and make it seem like she was kidnapped. That's dangerous. There are people who really get kidnapped. Black people who really get kidnapped. And when we go to the police about black people who really do get kidnapped, what they do is, oh, you're probably making it up. Oh, you're making it up. You're making it up. You guys, she probably just ran away with her thug boyfriend. It's not real. She didn't get kidnapped. There's always this denial anytime we seek justice. And when we have people who fake incidents, whether that's for clout, whether that's for money, whether that's to get back at somebody, whether that's because you're bored, whatever, it makes it harder for the rest of the group. And this is why we need to call that out when we see it. It's dangerous. And if we want to continue going forward, we got to stop that behavior. I'm going to add another thing. Notice how when it comes to celebrities and it comes to black men and black women, there's always this feud about every time, for instance, the situation with DDG and Holly is always this thing. Now it's becoming a bigger conversation about black men and black women and abuse and all of that stuff. And the stuff with Diddy and Cassie. Now it's about black men, because I've seen people make that when they say it's a war on black men, is not just about them holding black men accountable, because what they try to do is they try to use Diddy, they try to use Tory, they try to use a lot of these other men as proxies for black men in general, which is exactly what he tried to do. It would be one thing if we can look at these cases as individual cases, but what people like him try to do is they try to use this as a proxy for the whole group of people. Now, I have a question for you guys. Notice how that never happens when white folks have a feud. Case in point, Do you all remember the trial of Johnny Depp and his former wife, Amber? Her name is Johnny Depp, and I know her name is Amber something. I can't remember what her name is. Not that it really matters that much. It's Amber Heard. It's Amber Heard. Yes, Amber Heard. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Thank you. Appreciate it. I knew it started with an H. But do you guys recall that there was not a discourse around white people in abuse? Notice how they didn't try to proxy Johnny Depp or Amber. They didn't try to proxy either of them and say that, well, Johnny speaks to white men in general. He's a representative of white men in general, or Amber is a representative of white women in general. Just notice that. Notice the same people who, if these two people were black, it would be a bigger conversation about the black community and how black people treat each other. Notice how Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's issue, and it was a whole bunch of abuse going on in their relationship. If y'all followed that trial, notice how their issue didn't expand the conversation about how white people treat each other bad. Notice that. Okay. Somebody in the chat room brought up Dana White. That's a really good point too. Notice how the viral video of Dana White, notice how that didn't expand the conversation of how white men treat their wives. Notice that. These things never expand into that conversation. It never expands into the conversation of white abuse in their, which they have several times more than us. But notice that. And we can go down the list. We can go to Charlie Sheen. We can go to Charlie Sheen. We can go to a whole bunch of different people. We can go. What was that one dude? Ezra Miller. Okay. Notice how when it comes to non-black, particularly white celebrities, it's never a conversation that, oh, now we gotta hold the white men. Y'all gotta hold yourselves accountable for this, white men. Notice that. Notice it's never, even the cases that they do have, it's never a divisive thing. And even if they do expand the conversation to overall reflect the situation between their societies or their genders, notice that they don't put white men or white women. It's never this is an issue in the white community. Notice they never market it that way. They never do it that way. We can bring up several different cases of abuse. Okay? We can bring up several different cases. And this is why it's very important for us to, as Mel Gibson, that's the name I was thinking of, Mel Gibson. Notice that. But the second it's for us, the second a black person is involved, in particular a black man is involved, then people rush to jump on the bandwagon. They rush to either pinata the black guy, whether they know he did it or not. But if a black guy is getting beat with a pinata, here you come running with a bat. Or here you come blindly defending somebody and you don't know no evidence and you really don't have no case for their defense. And yet we make everything this big case and we allow it to turn into a gender war that nobody else will allow it to turn into. This is orchestrated. A lot of this stuff is. A lot of this stuff is orchestrated. A lot of this stuff is set up to be this way. And we have to understand that. We have to understand, it seems very interesting that these podcast people, is almost as if, and I'm not saying it's true or not true, but it's almost as if they've been given an assignment. Let's be honest. Myron did used to work for the feds, and I say used to in air quote. Is a theme going on online where people talking about how the CIA is using quote unquote podcasts to influence the community, to divide the community up amongst each other. I think Myron Gaines is evidence number one, exhibit A. Remember all the damage he was doing, all the things he was saying, all of the discourse that we were going through. Now, fortunately for us, we called him out it was black folk calling him out pretty much from jump. It was pretty much from jump, and then he just went off in like this crazy bandwagon, and now nobody takes Myron serious. But then you do have people who are still kind of soft shoe Myron Gaines. But as far as the grand scheme of things, Myron is not taken serious, thankfully. Right? But we got to think about that. Why is there never a discourse when it comes to any other community and dealing with their issues? Why is this never? Because other communities, they go through, I mean, let's be very honest. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard went through a nasty divorce. It was a nasty divorce. Okay. And you ain't really see nobody. Even the people who quote unquote speak about relationships didn't really touch this like that. And if they mentioned it, they didn't mention it in the sense of this is a reflection or a representation of the bigger conversation of men and women. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. So we got to understand when it seems like somebody is in our community kind of stirring the pot a little bit. When they have conversations, but the conversations cause more damage than they do good. Even if everything they're saying isn't incorrect. And I'm going to say for the dude in the Eggs and Grits podcast, everything he's saying is not incorrect. Right? I think he's saying is not incorrect. It's interesting. And as a society, we need to do better. We need to have more mature growth of that. Right? Because when you look at the background, I'm going to pull it up right here. When you look at the background of a lot of these advocates and stuff, you're going to see that these people, they're pushing an agenda for a quote unquote black community, a black community that is not what we're looking for. I want to give you this other thing because this came across my timeline, or not really across it, but as I was digging, I found this. Y'all look at this. Now, mind you, these are the same people who be talking about we got to do this for all women, and they claim to advocate and fight for women, yet they say if a man says he's a woman, he's a woman. So I don't know who they even fighting for. I don't know who they even advocating for. They're claiming to defend women, but they're also claiming that men are women. So who is a woman and who is not a woman at that point? Listen to this.
Caden Coleman reveals he's pregnant with his second child. He's pregnant with his second child. Look at this picture. Look at these pictures. If y'all seen him on the streets, you would not approach him like a woman. This is a birthing person. You see what I'm saying? Here's the thing about reality. Whether you like it or not, it still exists. Whether you disagree with it or not, it still exists. When we say birthing person and mother, it's not erasing women had childs. It's not erasing women have babies. It's not erasing women get pregnant and have babies and have births. It's also acknowledging that there are other people that also had it. You see what I'm saying? Man he got grow more facial hairs than me. You see what I'm saying? Like what? I'm really annoyed with a lot of y'all at this point. You see what I'm saying? And this is the homie too, if y'all didn't know. You should go follow them on their page so you can learn more about.
Okay, tell it on yourself.
Birthing people and how they are fathering kids. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Caden Coleman revealed
birthing people. Okay. Birthing people So a woman is not the only person who can give birth. It's people who can give birth. Okay. And this person, because this person takes a lot of drugs to grow a beard. Now, Conscious, yeah, you don't have much of a beard, but you don't have to grow it. You don't have to take testosterone pills to grow it. At least I don't assume you do. But notice these are the same people who are advocating for that stuff. Okay. These are the same people who are advocating for that stuff. Okay. Just keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. Now I want you to see something else. I want you to see something else. And I didn't even mean for it to go down this whole kind of like rabbit hole thing that okay, that we doing, but I want you to see something else. These are the people, and when I say it's an agenda, notice that these are the people who just conveniently get huge platforms. Okay, Conscious Lee is going to be hosting a Juneteenth event. It says Oklahoma City. I'll be there 5th annual Juneteenth on the East, hosting with Big Kurt and Manny B. Notice that these people out here tend to get suspiciously really big profile. Why? It's not because they're pushing a Black first agenda. Just notice that. And these are the people who will spread a gender divisive narrative towards the community that have us going back and forth to the community. Okay. Okay. Do you see that? Do you see what I'm seeing, y'all? Do you see what I'm seeing? That's what I'm saying. Now, who are y'all? Which one of y'all are pulling up to that Juneteenth event? I'm not sure what y'all doing for Juneteenth, but y'all pulling up to that. Notice that. Notice the people who are given just big platforms and tend to go super viral with the most controversial takes. Now, sometimes people do go viral. That's true. People go viral. But sometimes people can be made to go viral. Sometimes people are there for a certain reason. Sometimes people have an assignment. And sometimes not. We're not here to cast aspersions necessarily. We're just here to have a more mature conversation than the one that's been had. That's what we're here to do. Like I'm saying, when it comes to the situation of Diddy, when it comes to the situation of Tory, when it comes to the situation of DDG, all I'm going to say is, as an intelligent Black society, we should first off not take any beefing and feuding to a social platform. We shouldn't do that. That's really off code to do. All of this back and forth and all that stuff, beefing and feuding publicly, is off code. It's encouraged because it's off code, and we shouldn't be doing that, which is why you don't see us doing that here on this channel. All right. When it comes to what you personally think, I can't tell you what to personally think, but when it comes to it, I will say, just remember that it's not a good look to jump out the window on somebody. It's not a good look to just condemn somebody or to believe somebody off rip, because that might wind up making you look like a fool. And why does this only happen to Black people? Those are the questions I want to leave you all with. I want to leave you all with that. This was a very sensitive conversation, and I've been wanting to have it for a minute. Probably should have had it a little bit earlier, but I waited to kind of see. Plus, there were more things that I wanted to discuss. I waited to see, but we had it. I think we did a good job. Let me get to some of the super chats. Project Leroy, my brother, he sends a super chat. Appreciate my brother, Project Leroy. Iron Will says the conversation should have been had with Depp and Heard situation of white women and their false allegations. Notice that. It didn't. That's a good point. Notice that white men didn't raise the issue of how white women lie on them. Notice that. Now, these are the same white men who talk about men being men and protecting men's right and all that stuff. But notice how when they say women, they don't single their women out. White men don't do that. Never. Notice how when women talk about white men, they don't specify their whiteness. They don't single white men out. They just say men or women as the whole gender. Okay. Just notice that. And notice how gender divisive issues are marketed towards black people and only us. There's a reason for that. And that reason is because a gender war or even tension, not even necessarily a gender war, but if there's tension, if there's something that is disconnecting us from the unity necessary to push the community forward, that's what they want. That's what they want. As long as they can really trigger the uncomfortability that a black woman might feel when she's around black men, that's good because it slows the progress of the whole group down a little bit. If they can just trigger that, if they can trigger a little PTSD, if they can trigger a little insecurity, if they can trigger a little fear in black women, even if it's not all the way, that will pull the whole community back. If with black men, if we can trigger the fact that black men don't feel appreciated, if we can trigger the fact that black men feel disrespected or the black men are lied on or demonized, if we can trigger that and make them kind of not even necessarily dismiss black women, but just side-eye them a little bit, that's all they need. They don't need black men and black women to pick up arms and go at each other like that. It would never happen to that degree. But just that little, I'm side-eyeing you a little bit, the collective. I'm not talking about one woman or one man. I'm talking about as black men, we looking at black women that way as a totality, or black women looking at black men that way as a totality. That's what I'm talking about. If they can create just a little bit more distance, then they can kind of squeeze their way in and they can create this raft between a community that will never fully reach its level of power that we need to reach if that raft does exist. All right. Okay. Oh, Stephanie is here. She changed her profile picture too. Stephanie, how you doing? Stephanie says, this is highly disrespectful against the Most High. God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. They have taken this LGBTQ way too far. I mean, come on. Talk about a damn birthing person or whatever you call that thing. And I'm not saying thing to dehumanize. I know you do. I'm saying whatever you call it, he, she, them, they, may be, I don't know. No, and that's not true. Another thing we're going to have to talk about as a community, people talk about things, and I'm glad you brought that point up. People talk about as a community how we need to unify and we need to accept. There's a nuance between unity and between a boundary. Okay? There's a difference. We do want to have unity, but does a community have unity or acceptance with everything? I want us to have this conversation, or I want you to think this. A community that is thriving has rules and boundaries, has do's and don'ts. Okay, there is structure to a community that is thriving. There is a code to a community that is thriving. Any community that is thriving is not going to sit up here and say, we just accept everything. How is that going to work? How is that going to work? We accept anything and everything? No. No, I'm not going to be opening up the phone lines tonight. Not tonight. Not tonight. But yeah, because I'm not going to be on here too long. Is there a community that no? As a community, there does need to be a code of conduct, and that code of conduct does have to come with the fact that we cannot just accept anything because it would hurt somebody's feelings if we didn't. No, that's dangerous. What I mind my business. You can do what you want to do. But what I care a lot about, and what I find very, very dangerous, is the fact that when you look at the picture, I'm pulling it back up. When you look at the picture, hold on, let me pull it back up. Why is it not pulling back up? When you look at this picture, you can see a child. That's the dangerous part of the situation. That's the part that moving a community forward, we can't sit up here and say, well, we don't want to ostracize anybody. We want everybody to feel welcome, and we want everybody's ideology to feel welcome, and we want everybody to be happy, and we want no. And we're going to have this conversation sooner or later, because to move a community forward, there are going to have to be some things that we don't accept. Look at this little girl who is next to his father. Okay. What is she going to think growing up? What type of life is she going to be? What is this? This is confusion. One of the weapons that white supremacy utilizes against black people is confusion. This is borderline really eugenics, if we're going to be very honest with you, which is also white supremacy, if we're going to be honest. But this is the type of stuff that if we're going to move a community forward to prosperity, there's going to have to be a conversation where stuff is not accepted. And it's only our community, only black folks, only FBA, not even in the diaspora, but only FBA do we get told that this is what we got to accept. And if we don't accept this, then you're not welcoming to all black people. They not doing this. This type of stuff don't exist nowhere else in the world. And the people get gaslit and told that they have to accept this. No. There's going to have to be some stuff that we're just going to have to say we do not accept. And we're going to have to be unapologetic with that. We're going to have to be unapologetic with that. And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say this again. That type of narrative and all of that stuff, this is another reason why y'all Democrats be losing. Can we call a spade a spade? This is another reason why the Democratic Party loses. Because y'all see that and y'all say, oh, that's perfectly normal. Most people don't think that's normal or acceptable or appropriate at all. And it's only us who get told because that person is also black, we got to accept that. That's not normal. That's not even scientific. Even if we want to take the religious base out of it, that's not scientific. Do you know what you had to do? Naturally, you couldn't have done that. Naturally, you don't grow a beard. You don't even grow a beard naturally. What are you talking about? So yes, we're going to have to reject certain things to move forward. We're the only community that gets told we got to welcome everything. No. To move a community forward, some things need to be left behind. Some ideologies need to be left behind. Some thought process need to be left behind. And then there needs to be something that prevents that from permeating the rest of the group, from affecting the rest of the group. All right. But this is who they believe. This is who they vouch for. Like I'm saying, it's seeming very suspicious that a lot of these people pop up and they have these agendas, and all of the stuff that they do causes more harm than good in the community. Why is that, y'all? I'm asking, why is that? Why is that? It's up for us to understand the game. We got to know the game. We got to know the game. And not let them fall into the propaganda of gender division. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't honestly believe that these people have the best interest in the community. And if they did, they're going in the wrong way. Whether they do or don't, it don't matter. They're going in the wrong way. They're going in the wrong way. Brothers and sisters, this was a good conversation. Y'all can follow me on social media if y'all didn't get the notifications. Appreciate y'all for watching. What I would appreciate is y'all hitting that like button. That's what I would appreciate. Y'all hitting that like button. Please do so. Hit that like button. I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much for everything that y'all do. I appreciate y'all. I will see you all tomorrow evening. Y'all make sure y'all pull up tomorrow evening. There's another conversation that I definitely want to have tomorrow evening. So y'all make sure y'all pull up tomorrow evening. All right. Because there's another conversation I want to have. Yeah, I think is very important too. With that being said, Black First, brothers and sisters, I appreciate you all. Thank you all for everything that you all do. Thank you all for watching, your support, everything. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Y'all stay blessed.